Suicide. Everyone in this room has a different response to this word, whether it be a name of a loved one that pops in the back of your mind, or a sense of shock that floods you at the sound of it. However, the most common response to the word is to get uncomfortable. You know, adjust your seat a little, your glasses, whatever it may be, uncomfortability seems to surround the topic. What I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, today is to move past that uncomfortability and open your mind to a discussion. 2 years ago, suicide was the third leading cause of death in adolescence. Today, that number has increased to make it the second leading cause of death in adolescence. This statistic, personally, made me feel the need to help, to reach out, and to give hope. And after my exhibition, I hope you feel the same. Today I'll be introducing to you treatments for adolescents struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. But first, the number one step that all doctors will take is to differentiate between regular adolescent moodiness and behavioral problems and an underlying mental health condition. After a possible mental health condition is established, the process of finding the correct treatment moves forward. So let's jump right into the treatments. There are 6 treatments for teens struggling with depression and suicide. The first form of treatment is individual therapy. Individual therapy is most successful in adapting the individual's needs and is best supportive if the teen works best one-on-one. From personal experience, individual therapy made me feel as though someone not only understood what was going on in my head, but cared enough to want to help. The second form of treatment is group therapy. Group therapy is successful to teach these teens that they are not alone in their struggles and to give them a sense of socialization if that is a problem for the teen. Group therapy has been proven to increase the probability of the individual to share their thoughts due to feeling more comfortable not being the only person sharing. The third type of treatment is a combination of both types of therapy, group and individual. Doing a combination of group and individual therapy can be beneficial in the thought that they get one-on-one experience with a therapist and get the treatment that is best suitable for them. And at the same time, experiencing group therapy so they have a sense of belonging and socialization. The fourth type of treatment is exercise. Now I know, the thought of going for a morning jog doesn't sound appealing, but it comes with many benefits. Those benefits including a boost in self-confidence, a sense of purpose, and above all else, exercise has been proven to reduce stress and anxiety. The fifth type of treatment is sleep. Something as small as sleep can cause months or even years of psychological damage. Sleep deprivation in adolescence can cause moodiness, anxiety, and a lost sense of purpose. Regulating the sleep pattern of a teen can ultimately benefit the mental health of the individual and stabilize their moods. The sixth type of treatment is medication. Although doctors tend to stray away from medication, it could be the treatment needed for an individual. Psychologists visit the medicinal treatment as a last resort. This being because medication can cause addiction at a young age, dependency on the medication, and in some cases, medication can even make the individual's symptoms worse. Although a last resort, medication isn't forbidden. In some depression cases, medicine is the only area of treatment that would work for an individual. Knowing the 6 areas of treatment, the success rates in all of them are astounding. No one treatment has the highest success rate. Each individual has a treatment or a combination of treatments that best supports them. Knowing these treatment options, what flows through my head is, how can I help? There are 3 ways to help make a difference. Number 1 will be to talk one-on-one with the person you believe is struggling. Reaching out to that person may help them understand that they are not alone. Letting them know that you care may provoke them to reach out to you next time they are struggling. Number 2 will be to tell an adult what you're witnessing. If you feel uncomfortable approaching the person yourself, telling an adult may be the way to go. This way, you've said something to make sure the individual's safety is intact. Number 3 would be to contact the individual's parents and alert them of what may be going on. This way, the parents can converse with their child and hopefully get them the treatment that is best suited for them. Understand that while an adolescent is finding the correct treatment option, this could be a lengthy process. Rushing this process may cause them to not get the sufficient treatment for them. So be supportive and make sure that they stay on the road to recovery. My mother always used to say, helping one person may not change the world, but it can change the world for one person. What I ask you to take away from this is that no act goes unseen. No matter how small you think the action you are taking may be, understand that this could change or save a life. What solutions do you think could lower the number of suicide deaths and attempts?
I think a lot of people are trying a lot of things already. I don't think there's one solution out there. I think not taking people seriously is something that we don't do, because people say, well, they're just saying it to get attention. I think anytime someone's talking about suicide, we need to pay attention. If it is attention seeking, then we better pay attention to it. I think we need more counselors out there. I know it's over a month to get into a counselor to get help. So I think if we have that would be a definite help as far as suicide prevention. I think people taking some of those concerns seriously and knowing what to look for. The problem with adolescents is if you look at typical adolescent behavior and you look at possible mental health condition, there can be some similarities. So what you have to know is the difference between looking at them, because moodiness is typical adolescent behavior, but moodiness can also be a sign of a mental health condition. So it's just an understanding and being more aware of that and getting rid of the stigma of mental health problems.
So being an adolescent currently in this generation, I feel as though a lot of us are unaware of how growing the problem is. So how do you think we could raise awareness in schools?
And I think you guys are pretty aware of it, quite honestly. 13 Reasons came out last year. I did watch it. I did what they said not to do. I binge watched it. And I talked to several of my students because I was a high school counselor last year. I think it should have been watched with a parent, if at anything. So I think you guys are pretty aware about it, but I think you need more guidance from adults. So I would hope, I know in all the high schools, Missouri law says that they're supposed to be doing some suicide prevention. So I think that's a good thing to get it out there. I will tell you nationwide, within a 2-year time period, it was the third leading cause of death for adolescents, and it is now the second. In Missouri, I think it still is the third, but nationwide, it's gone up. Those statistics have.
Right. So, what are some signs to look for in teenagers that indicate depression?
If someone is starting to stay away from their friends and backing off, and sometimes you may be changing friend groups, but if you're isolating yourself completely away, that may be that. If you're giving things away, if you're saying goodbyes, if you anything that is an aggregation of several behaviors that are increasing. You may have a bad day and be really moody, but if you're moody and you're giving stuff away so you need to look at several different things when you're talking about suicide prevention. And the other thing that you need to be concerned about is if someone's been talking about it or you've been worried about them and all of a sudden they're better, everybody thinks, oh my gosh, they're better, but sometimes they're better because they made a decision that they're going to complete the suicide, and they feel a sense of relief because they have so much pain. And suicide really isn't about ending your life. Typically, it is about getting rid of the pain. They don't see any other way to stop the pain except for that, and they just feel hopeless, which is so sad, because we want to give them hope.
So how does Lost and Found help adolescents who have lost a loved one to suicide?
Well, first of all, we don't stigmatize it here. Death is difficult when you've had a parent or a friend die, no matter what the cause of death is. So we don't stigmatize it or separate it out as far as that goes. And we talk honestly about grieving with all of them. There's so many, grief is not a mental health condition, but it's really, really hard work. And we just talk really openly and honestly that everybody's grief journey is different, just because you're all unique and your relationship with the deceased is unique too. So we just are helpful. Anytime to get through a hard situation is you need a good support system. So we just try to be that, walking through that grief journey and helping each other out. And knowing that you're not alone makes a big difference. If you know, oh my gosh, somebody else is feeling something similar to this, it just is really helpful. But I will tell you, it's really hard to get teenagers to come in here because of social media. I already have my friend group, and that trust issue of I don't know these people there and I'm not sure I want to trust them. So it tends to be some of our smaller groups compared to, we have 4 children's groups going on, but we only have 1 high school group going on.
In your experience, what are the benefits of individual therapy versus group therapy?
Well, I think it depends on the individual. We do individual counseling here, but our goal is to move them into group because the therapeutic value of knowing that you're not alone. I still think of one young man who's in his 20s now, but he talked about going to two counselors, and his comment was, what did they know? Both of their parents were still alive, and he had both of his parents die. So what did they know about it? He said, so I walked into this group, and it was when he was in middle school, and he felt like other people got him, and he was talking to peers. So I just think that not feeling alone and relating to, I think, is a lot better. I mean, there are circumstances. If you have some mental health conditions, you may need to be doing individual therapy to deal with some of those if it's not just grief, because grief isn't a mental health condition.
In my paper, I state multiple times that there is not one solution that fits all people, but in any case, one should find an adult, like a school counselor or a teacher, who can help lead adolescents on the right path to adequate treatment. As discussed in the interview, distinguishing fact from opinion when it comes to teenage moodiness and behavior is important when determining whether or not one has a mental health issue. Because these symptoms are very similar, the consequences could result in an incorrect diagnosis or dismissal of a serious health issue. In conclusion, the alternative to seeking help of any kind is only to let your depression and anxieties build up over time. This weight can lead to consequences like relying on addictive medication and harmful habits. I chose to do my service learning at Lost and Found because they offer a nonprofit counseling and a safe community that relies on healthy methods of treatment for those dealing with depression and grief. In my personal experience, having an adult to trust and to look to for guidance was one of the most important steps I took in getting the right treatment for myself.